Alright, Vibe Gardeners. Welcome to another episode of Vibe Gardening From Edition. We're going to be doing our first State of the Vibe year in review for the year 2025. And with that said, here we go. Alright, again, so to start off here, we're going to be doing our first ever State of the Vibe, which is going to be our year in the review. And first time since probably episode 7 or earlier, I will not be doing correction of the auto caption of this episode, as I've done, knowing that I have a lot of viewers who use captioning for my episodes. So what we're going to do here is we're going to really just kind of go over a little bit of stuff about my channel, where I'm going to go for first time talk about who I am. I don't think any of you actually know my name, for those who don't know me. And I'll also go into a little bit of kind of how I got here, my background, and what inspired the channel. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what I got from this year so far and what I'm planning to do next year. So here we go. All right, guys. So I guess for a lot of you, I owe you guys a name because I know the Indiana Funny Farm has basically called me Mr. Vibe because I've never actually dropped my name. I never thought I actually needed to, but for those of you out there, here's my name. My name is Jasper. And for those of you who are watching who know me, that is something that you know already. But for the rest of you, my comments, that can be what you're saying going forward. But my channel is really meant to be informative and kind of like a video log, kind of like a vlog, sort of documenting my learning experiment and how I learned to garden. So for myself, though, I am actually a senior software development technical engineer, and so actually more on the management side, but I just happen to be an engineer who knows how to manage teams. And I really kind of got into this in the sense that I want to make something that I can actually have in real life and that I can cook with because I'm quite the cook. I like to cook. I like to have people over and host them for dinner. And these vegetables and things I grow are going to be quite important for me to be able to serve my friends and family with the best stuff I have. And so it's kind of how I got started with this gardening channel. Now, for part of the YouTube side of things, how I'm able to just basically hit the floor ground running and be able to create all these videos at a pretty rapid pace is that I actually do have an undergraduate degree in media arts. So I'm actually professionally trained in being able to do video contents like these you're watching, graphic design, special effects, and all those kind of things. So I'm actually quite well trained for this. It's just that my career has never really gotten me into that. I've done some freelance work, volunteering work, but I've mostly been doing software development that has led me eventually to manage teams for one of the top 5 global software consulting firms. And so that's a little bit of who I am and how I got here and how I'm able to make a lot of these videos. So let's talk a little bit about what happened this year in 2025 and how this gardening channel has evolved. So it started at the end of May, and I basically looked at what I've done last year as my first year gardening, and I realized that I've done a lot of things to learn. And I decided I was going to document these for my viewers. Actually, a lot of it at the beginning, I was basically documenting these for my friends and family, for them to see how I'm doing gardening at home. But then I realized that what I'm doing was actually quite attractive globally from my worldwide audience. And one of the main reasons for that was I never expected my eggplant crop to be so successful. And one of the things that I kind of gone into with my seasonal lessons learned is that the heat wave this year made certain crops that I thought was going to be extremely easy become hard. And things that I never knew was going to do so well actually explode, like the eggplant. So this is kind of so starting with my humble beginning with my marigold pot making. I kind of gone all over the place. Like I've had a hobby as a furniture building guy doing carpentry. So I have a lot of like DIY background, and I was able to start my video using DIY background to show you guys how I've been able to take everyday stuff and make it into gardening repurposed material. But what really that kind of got me going was kind of like how I tackle everyday problems in my garden, and I started documenting it. And I called it vibe gardening in form edition, in that I really believe that gardening, a lot of it is going to be on vibe. You have to see how the plant grows and how things evolve before you decide what you do with it. But then at the same time, you kind of like Picasso, right? He actually started his career as a traditional painter using the classical painting style before he evolved into Cubism and what we see today as his groundbreaking artwork. So I feel like in a lot of cases, gardening at home is kind of like a Picasso, in that you have to get yourself grounded in that base knowledge of how the plant works, and then based on that, based on the vibe of how the plant is going and on how your environment is going, you can use that information and make it work for your given environment. And this, I believe, is majority of what makes engineering coming from engineering background, and that's what makes gardening. And that's really at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, gardening is actually applied horticultural science. You're taking a lot of these documented ancient research on how planting works and what best practice, and you're applying it in your own home. And that's kind of just how I've been going along this whole entire season in showing you how I do things. In that this is basically how I was able to achieve my success. In that I was able to pick up this horticultural knowledge and being able to apply it to everyday what you call it gardening here, and be able to produce amazing produce. Now, granted, it wasn't as successful as I wanted to, because the stuff that was very successful last year, like my tomato, that didn't quite pan out. There's a weird heat waves we had has really made things a lot more challenging than I expected. And tomato, really, I didn't even see a single tomato fruit come out until probably August, which is quite late compared to what happened last year. So things were definitely challenging, but I documented for you guys to see if you guys are experiencing the same thing, and if you can share notes in the comments. Now, I didn't get a lot of comments, but that's the nature of YouTube. A lot of people watch and they walk away, right? And that's fine. If I'm entertaining to you, I'm glad I am. So that's kind of what happened this year. So another thing I really kind of want to go into a little bit is about how I do my research and get my information. Because like I said, that's kind of one of the bedrock of the channel. To be able to do the research, to be able to back up what I do in the garden, and be able to let my vibe be able to land on a successful outcome. And one of the things that really, there's basically three tier of research I do. And the first tier really is for me to be able to go out into the internet, look at on especially YouTube, see what other content creators have made, and take that as lessons learned, and be able to use that to be able to construct an informed decision on what's happening. Now, granted, I've watched quite a bit of videos getting started last year in my first year of gardening. I've learned to really trust people that I believe have a valid credential behind them, and really don't go for the clickbait, but go. I mean, of course, every creator has some clickbait here and there, but the ones that actually do it in a way that gives you value added, things that you can walk away with, that you know will help you garden. So what I've done here was I was able to basically pick a few selective channels that I know will continuously give good research. Now, my favorite one is Dr. Warren in the Plant Doctor channel. He's actually got a PhD in horticultural science, and he's a professor in Alabama. The thing with him, though, is he doesn't post a lot of videos, and a lot of stuff he does use actual agricultural professional solution that people like us, we don't have access to. And also, his climate is significantly warmer than where I am here in Southeast Michigan. So I can't exactly use everything he does and apply it verbatim. The next step up for me is or other people who have actually valid credentials. Another one is gardening fundamentals with Robert, and so he's actually got a double master's in related fields, and he's actually a professional gardening advocate, and from Canada. So he is actually quite established in that field, and I love to get his information on it. Now, for him, he's really kind of focusing more on the fundamentals, as his channel talked about, we're focusing on soil science, getting the soil right, composting, and those type of things. And another channel that I really reference quite a bit is Gardening Canada with Ashley, who's got a Bachelor of Science in Soil Science. And she is another reliable one. And for the more organic stuff, I like to use Luke from In My Gardener. He's actually coming from right here in Michigan, about only 40 minutes to an hour east of me. So these are the people I really rely on, and also Epic Gardening. They also, for their reputation, they also don't really give a lot of stuff that are not reputable for the business that they're building. So these are the people I mostly reference the most. And there are some other ones I reference here and there, but they're more anecdotal. And as they really based almost completely on vibe. And a lot of them don't do a lot of research and really use stories and stuff, which are fine. I mean, a lot of gardening is oral tradition, and I'm totally cool with that. But that's what the people that I mean, for them, I really kind of use them as sort of a let me try this and see if there's some kind of fact to the madness that they kind of go through. So those are the YouTube stuff I really rely on. So that's my first layer of research. Second level of research, I go for the what's called the extension um, programs from state universities. These are what's called land grant universities. These are universities really funded by the state government to be able to make horticultural science research accessible to the people in their own state to help with agricultural development as well as gardeners like you and me in our backyard. For me in Michigan, Michigan State has their extension program that has a lot of tips on, for example, how to grow kale, for instance, and other things like how to donate to your local food bank and all that stuff. So they really are a very good wealth of knowledge. But then the next level, which I've been getting into quite a bit, the final level of research I do is something I do quite a bit for hydroponic. And the hydroponic is a fairly newer style of farming, as in that it's all very much a cutting edge. So a lot of times I do find trouble being able to get reliable extension material on it. This is where I really use, yes, I use AI to help me get basic information on where to find research that's direct from the source. So the latest hydroponic episodes, what I've done was actually chase down these actual articles to be able to read it myself and use my past research experience for my graduate studies in computer science. I know it's not adjacent topic to horticultural science, but that gives me the background I need to be able to interpret the graph and charts they have, to be able to come up with my own conclusion about how to apply their academic research to my home. So that's what I was doing recently for the hydroponics series because there's just not too many very detailed extension summary of this research for me to be able to work off of. And I'm sure once I go into more heavy topics like humic acid and all, which has gone through dramatic scientific breakthrough in just the past 5 years, with something like that, I might have to lean heavier on actual academic article reading to be able to deliver you the research that I'm doing for my own journey here. So this is how I do my research. And now going back a little bit too, I need to address the topic of AI, of responsible usage of AI. People have to realize that AI right now is at the end of 2025 is really getting oversold, in my opinion, in that it's not actually as, I guess, world changing as some people, especially the CEOs of these companies, have claimed they are, in that it's not actually as smart as people think they are. And it very often will actually make things up and they're not reliable. It's actually a less reliable version of Wikipedia or going on Reddit. So one of the things that you have to do if you use AI, like I do, you have to verify to make sure things work and to make the AI cite its sources, like you do on Wikipedia if you're going to use it when I was in college. Get where it got the information, go read it yourself, and make sure that the AI is not basically giving you made up stuff that it came up with in thin air, because it will try to get away with it. And it's actually a term in AI called hallucination. It happens all the time, and you have to make sure that you're not falling for these. So now the final section I kind of want to get into a little bit is kind of what I'm looking to do this coming year with 2026. And the one thing for sure I want to do is I want to share with you guys how I design my garden going forward. As this year I've made some designs, I learned quite a bit from it. And as the actual growing season kicked in and I started seeing what's been happening in my garden, I learned quite a bit about what I did right and wrong when I was designing my garden in the beginning of 2025. So I'm going to go into a little bit of my process of how I design my garden coming up in this growing season. And the main thing I'm going to do is, yes, I'm kind of really knee deep into hydroponics right now. But the one thing for sure is I cannot miss is timing for seed starting. So this year, what I've done really successfully was I made a hydroponics 101 course that is quite in depth on how hydroponics work. What I'll do is I am aiming to make another course on seed starting to give you guys kind of like a overview of how seed starting really works when it comes to preparing the soil, how the seed kind of behave on its own, and how the watering environment affects seed starting, and a little bit into hardening and how that works for plants. And really looking into how all these things come together to give you the start of your season you need to get going. So that's what I'm going to do for sure going forward. And of course, I'm going to again plan my garden to be able to have a role for my local food bank, which is going to be quite important for me to fulfill my goal of being able to be engaged with my local community. So once we get going with this, the channel will uh, basically take a life of its own. In that once the plants get going, you never quite know how the season's going to go, right? You cannot predict, like a fortune teller, how the climate's going to behave. In that you don't know if it's going to be heat waves like this year, or it's going to be a more normal year like the year before. And once we kind of see that, I really hope that my tomatoes and cucumber will survive better than this year, because it has been devastating, especially my pepper. I didn't see anything until August or late August, and it just was not enough time to get enough harvest. Now I was able to pickle basically all my pepper that came out. They were delicious, but honestly, I wasn't able to really enjoy all that much fresh pepper because, well, they got scorched by the heat wave, right? So I really hope that the heat wave is under control this year and get more crops to be able to share with you guys on my videos, and also share some more recipes. As I've been sharing some recipes on my shorts, hopefully I'll be able to find some inspiration as my staple are able to survive whatever climate comes this year. And again, I'll probably do more experiments. As last year, I did my first real microclimate research on seeing how the cucumber survived and see if it can somehow basically hack the environment to be able to let me have cucumber until November. Now that didn't happen, but it did take me all the way into October, which is on its own definitely not bad for cucumbers in zone 6A. So we'll see more of these experiments, but again, I'll do more experiments as the season goes on, as things progress and they present itself. But we'll definitely see, and I'm actually quite curious to see how my garlic do as the season comes. So that's what I plan to do in this coming year. All right, guys. So that's basically it for this episode, where I kind of gone over a little bit of what happened this year with the garden and how I did it with the channel, and a little bit about an intro on who I am, so that you guys can actually call me by name instead of just Mr. Vibe. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, and this is also my 50th upload I published on YouTube. And honestly, I thank you guys for watching, because that's what's really giving me the motivation to keep going. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next year. Until then, keep gardening and keep vibing. Let's go.